Good evening. Welcome to the July 18th Accounts Review Subcommittee of the Brockton City Council. Our agenda for the evening be GL accounts by department versus chart of accounts, which our acting auditor will help us out with. Update on the open checkbook updating, and then of course the review of the warrants. And I did hear from Councilor Minicello, who had an emergency and was unable to join us, and as well as our auditor isn't able to join us, but she sent Irene in her place, and we thank you for stepping in to help us out. So without further ado, I'll turn it over. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Councilor D'Agostino. Thank you for joining us today, Accounts Committee. I'm just going to once again highlight the agenda for the evening with an understanding of why we're looking at what. So the GL accounts by department versus chart of accounts. When understanding the types of payments that the city makes, we would want to be able to decode the statutory category. And that's pretty much just the way we label a specific department or a specific type of revenue. I wanted to go over that first, and then we can dive into the update on the open checkbook. But please be aware that part one is would be a resource for understanding and digging into part three. So under UMass, which is the Universal Massachusetts Accounting System, all of our revenue needs to be sorted and organized on our system based on the type of fund that it is categorized under, which allows us to pay the revenue in a specific type of way. So we have a master list with the city of all of our statutory categories, which would be, if we were to speak of a budget code for a payment that gets hit, the first place it gets hit is with what this is called the org code or the organization code. Each type of code, depending on, again, the type of revenue, follows a pattern as the way the statutory code is set up. So for example, for taxes, the remainder of the number, most of it starts with a bunch of zeros. Depending on the type of revenue it is, it'll be labeled as 62s, 59, so on and so forth. The general fund, which is the city's main operating budget, itemizes the city departments and allows us to see which department is expensing out of, rather the statutory category that belongs to which department for an expense. So just as an example, my department, auditing, will always start with 0135. These are the statutory categories that exist for my department. Anytime we make an expense, it hits this code, and that's how everybody knows that this is an auditing payment. If we were to look at another department, for example, City Council, all of your expenses hit a statutory category that starts with 0111. So there's very much a pattern that we have to follow per UMass guidelines as to why these statutory categories are set up the way they are. Under UMass, you'll notice that general fund accounts start with 01, and then we get into the other chart of accounts, which you may not be familiar with, our taxpayers might also not be familiar with, but just a quick breakdown of why it's set up the way it is. In terms of the school department, and all of their expenses, their statutory categories begin with a 1. School grants and revolving funds begin with a 2. All city grants begin with either a 3 or a 7. Capital projects, purchases of large, mostly revenue used for construction, purchasing of large buildings, public safety, something of that nature. These statutory categories for any kind of capital projects start with a 4. Debt service will start with a 9. I'm kind of going ahead here. It's in order, if you can tell. 0, 1, 2, 3. Enterprise funds start with a 6. More grants start with a 7. Trusts start with an 8. Any questions as it relates to UMIS or anything having to do with the chart of accounts?
Okay.
No? Okay, then I'll continue at this point, if that's okay? All right.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, great. So let's go into item number 2 on the agenda, which is an update on the open checkbook. When you last sat down with the city auditor, Karen Preval, actually, no, I think it was myself who picked up the meeting towards the tail end of it, and you asked for a status on the open checkbook. So I reached out to our contacts at ClearGov, and we should definitely have that ready by the fall. It's really just a matter of transferring the data and making sure it's reflected on the city's website properly. And if you'd like to know any further details about that process as I actually move along with it, please feel free to reach out.
Okay.
But that's definitely should be ready by the fall.
And when you say by the fall, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, are we talking September or early October?
I would say more early October.
Okay.
I'll try September, but it's definitely in the works.
Late October. Can you just, for my own information, and I think for, constituents who might wonder, why is this taking so long? Just give us a quick, where we are, what it is that you're working on doing, and then going forward, is it like a seamless transfer of data from Munis to Open Checkbook, or is it manual? What's that?
That's the big question. From my understanding, I believe this open checkbook has been dormant for some time. I think it may have had to do with some turnover that occurred in the office.
Okay.
So now I have to start from scratch and figure out the details and the why in terms of transferring this data. I would imagine it's going to be seamless. I was reassured by our contact at ClearGov that it is. It's just a matter of making sure that we can pull all the data from Munis and working with IT to get it to them and how to get it to them. Do we want to set up an SFTP between us and ClearGov? Those are the details that I don't know at this point, and we'll be figuring out.
So it's really working out the technological piece of how one program is going to talk to the other.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you for the update, councilors. Did you have any questions on Open Checkbook or on the presentation?
No. Good presentation, and I am happy that Open Checkbook is going to be coming back.
Yes.
That's something that was really we were happy to see show up, because then we could just refer people. We could say, oh, you want to know where your money's going? Mm-hmm. How about in real time? Yeah.
Right.
So it's a tremendous asset for the folks at home.
Okay. It's good to know.
A citywide accounts committee.
Right?
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No problem. All right, so, it's right there. Then I guess we can get into the warrants. Does either of you want to jump in with a question on any of the warrant items? I can jump in too if you'd like. Yep. You've got, okay. Councilor Lally, did you have?
I had one or two, but I'd rather keep flipping around for a minute, if that's all right with you.
Okay, that's perfectly fine with me. All right, so I had a question, and this kind of comes up when we had the budget. One of the things that some of the folks that came and spoke talked about, wishing the city was doing a little more to support homelessness was what was specifically said, but I would say homelessness and just those in need in general, right? So I have a couple of questions that relate to some of the payments to different, what looks like in here are human service contracts is the description I'm seeing. So we'll start with the one that's just happens to be open on my screen. Let's see.
Counselor, can you give me the page number?
Yes.
There's quite a few pages in
As
this.
soon as I figure that out myself, I'm on page 76.
Okay. Okay, and an amount?
So this one was Boys and Girls Club, $12,500. And it looks like over the year to date, we're at about 178. Are we just paying tuition and fees? Like, what are we funding?
Okay, let me pull it up on the system and we can figure that out.
Okay.
So what are we paying Boston public school? You see that on page?
You're not seeing it. There you go.
Tuition, especially.
Okay. So this is grant revenue, this is ARPA money.
Okay.
When we open the invoices and we can get a little bit more detail here. Boys and Girls Club. We'll do all three. So this appears to be about So this was ARPA money used. It appears to help give ARPA funds to small businesses. And I know the screen is a little small, but BAMSI is being paid, the Brockton Day Nursery, the Cape Verdean Women's United. I can scroll down.
Is there any detail on like what they're funding with the money?
An invoice?
Oh. Can I open this? Oh. Okay. So it looks like it's general operating costs for the Boys and Girls Club. More than likely, the rest of the vendors on that schedule.
So we're just giving them ARPA grants.
I can get you more detail if you request.
Yeah, I'd like to, and there was some others that I suspect if I ask about these others, you're gonna end up in the same place. Like the next one I was gonna ask about was Brockton Tabernacle Inc. I don't know who they are, what they do,
Right.
but I think that was on that chart you had pulled up.
Is that also on page 76?
That's on page 78. $11,250, year-to-date is $33,750. It's not nearly as much money, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, and maybe I'll give you like 2 or 3 to check on. It's obviously not reasonable for me to ask you to check on them all. But
Let's take a
see.
look at this.
Who else? You can also check, I'll give you 2 more just so I can get, and you can email, like I said, email it to us when you get the info about what they're doing with the funds. I'm not familiar with EMH Recovery Inc. on page, the heck page is this on? 84. Again, it's 12.5.
So let's skip to page 84 then. EMH Recovery?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know what service they provide. I'm sure they're,
It's more than likely ARPA funds. Statutory category 1333 is finance, is the CFO's office, and they handle the ARPA funds. So I'll go ahead and pull that up.
yeah, and I think on all of these, what I'm really curious about is what is being done with they're getting ARPA funds through the grants, I think that were done through ARPA that we did. But what are they doing? Like, what program is being funded? If it's general operating expenses, like you mentioned it might be, or is there particular programming that they're using these funds to?
Well, the first one was general operating budget that they're
Okay.
allowed to use the grant money for. Let's see. Let's look at this one. For EMH Recovery, it is to cover general operating costs. So what I can do is, in relation to these 3 purchase orders, I can get the accounts committee more detail in terms of what exactly that would mean for a business for general operating costs.
Right.
Is that to help, set up a Wi-Fi? Is that to help with what in particular? We can
Right.
find out from the CFO.
Right. What did they do with these grant funds, you
Right.
know? And then I'll add one more, so it should be 4 that I've got you checking into. Page 86, and I'm suspecting it's gonna be exactly the same thing, father bills, 12,500. And I'm sure, just for anybody who's wondering why I'm picking on these, I'm sure they're all providing much-needed services for the city, but since this topic came up, I wanted to look and see, well, what monies are going to these organizations that are providing these types of services that we absolutely need.
I'm sorry, Counselor, which vendor are we looking at?
Looking at page 86.
86?
The first one.
So father bills and mainspring?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just those couple would be, just out of curiosity. Okay. All right.
Would you like me to pull it up on Munis? Yeah.
I suspect we're going to see the same kind of, yeah. No, don't, just get us the detail.
Okay.
That's fine. And I want to make sure that I don't dominate the time on any of my colleagues, and, maybe we'll bounce back and forth a little bit. Either of you have anything you want to jump in with at this point?
Well, I had just sort of a similar vein where I saw a couple of things that,
Counselor Lally,
thank you.
run with it.
Yeah, I have it on my phone. I also didn't want to print 800 pages. Just down the bottom of page 86 is Free the Captives Ministry. There's 12,500, 37,000 year to date. It's for human service contracts, which I think is probably going to be the same kind of thing that we've been discussing, but still. And on a page or two before that, we had one for the DW Field Park Association as well, human service contracts. Just curious as to how many
I know.
Yep.
service contracts.
It's more than likely grant revenue. It starts with 3. It's ARPA grant funds.
Yeah, right. What'd you say? Sorry?
Free captives invoice. Let me pull it up. These are ARPA funds.
Yeah.
This is grant revenue.
Like-
So we'll get you more detail as to what
All right.
exactly.
Thank you.
General operating costs for this
Yeah.
Yeah,
company, foundation, what have you, that is applicable to receive ARPA funds. So we'll get more detail.
Yeah, it's just
from
a
the
lot
CFO.
it's a lot of different organizations that are getting a lot of different human service contracts, which is possibly the vaguest thing that you could label it, other than
Right.
other.
right.
And I imagine that it's the same for the DW Park Association.
More than likely, we can look.
Page 82.
82.
Yeah, I think so. Hang on.
Okay, here, 50,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can, just by looking at the statutory category,
same deal.
what we were referring to with the chart of accounts presentation, it's grant revenue, I can already tell. So 1333053.
What methods do we have? This isn't really on a warrant. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. But what methods do we have once we hand the check over? What do we have
do with it?
Yeah, to find out what'd you do with it?
That would be a question for
Troy?
the finance department, yeah.
All right.
Possibly the mayor's office.
No, and
well.
these organizations, some of them we've not really heard of, but a lot of these organizations are known to us.
Yeah.
And they are, good organizations that do good work. So we're not trying to,
Oh, of course.
not trying to insinuate that somebody bought a Lambo with $50,000 in ARPA money. Also,
No.
how could you afford it for $50,000?
No,
But
you didn't
either
get a
way,
Lambo for
yeah, you're not getting
$50,000.
that. Maybe a nice Miata, but. But it's just something that, it doesn't hurt for us to check out, do our due diligence as a committee.
Right.
General operating costs for Brockton Symphony Orchestra. Again, I think it would be prudent to reach out to the CFO, and if they can give us some examples as to what would constitute a general operating cost
We may
and which would be applicable for the ARPA funds. Yep.
have to have him back in.
Yeah, well, if you don't mind if I jump in
No, you're the chair.
for a second. I think for me, and you kind of alluded to this, like we know a lot of these organizations. Some of them we're not familiar with, but they would have normal general operating costs if COVID had never happened and ARPA had never happened. So I guess I want to see that, all right, so are we doing something more than just paying normal operating bills for the people that live in the city with these grants? You know what I mean? I guess that's why I'm saying, and I think Councilor Lally and Texera, kind of looking at this the same way, I assume. I don't want to make assumptions, but like, what extra are you doing for the people of Brockton with these grant funds versus just paying your light bills? And I'm sure that it's all legitimate, but, it's our job to check into this
Right.
stuff.
It would, of course, be an extra form of assistance, per the definition of ARPA, and we'll find out what exactly that
Yeah,
is.
and they are getting if I may return to the floor.
Yes, of
Mr.
course.
Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may here, they are also, a lot of them are getting a similar amount of money, but not all of them.
Right.
So they are varying. You know, DW Fields Park got 50,000 to date. Boys and Girls got 178. Boys and Girls does more stuff, and they have more programs, and probably a wider reach.
Of course.
But, you know, that's just something that, you know, probably a more in-depth ARPA catch-up segment could probably apply.
Maybe we put that, I mean, we'll see what information you're able to get, but maybe do we want to put that on the next agenda and have maybe Troy come in with a little more detail from some of these organizations? Just to-
We had them chase down the marijuana, chase down ARPA.
All right, well,
No, Mr. Chairman, may I?
yeah, please.
It's just information that we need as a council, and so when we ask a question like this, at least we have the knowledge.
Right, exactly.
You know, because the
Right.
city, every corner they turn this nonprofit, as a church, this, you know. So if you're gonna give them money, literally,
$1,000.
$1,000. So you wanna know where that money's going. And
Right.
Who's getting the money? And,
Yes. How did the people of the city benefit?
Yeah.
That's really all I had, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your time.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going back to page 76.
Okay.
Boston Public School.
Okay.
It says tuition, special, must be for a special need.
Right. It's definitely from the school's budget, so let's take a look.
A lot of money here today.
Okay. So it's a form of tuition for special education. Let's dig in and see. So it's for McKinley Vocational School. So it looks like it might be transportation costs for out-of-district attendance for a child with special needs.
Okay. Right, because that's McKinney Vento. Or, oh, no, McKinley, you said.
Out-of-district McKinley Vocational.
Oh, McKinley, okay, sorry. I was looking at the screen over there, I could have looked right here.
Yeah. That did seem like a McKinney-Vento thing, though.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, you did ask me a question. Let's get back to page 84, please.
Okay.
The East Bridgewater Police Department.
East Bridgewater Police Department. Okay, so this is capital. Starts with 4.
Oh, so that's okay.
Okay, this is for capital funds facilitated through DPW Highway. It's police, it looks like it's a police detail invoice having to do with any kind of construction for the highway. So let's dig in and see exactly what it's for.
We have water sewer kind of pipes that run under East Bridgewater. So that's probably maintenance on those pipes that require the detail.
This is for the details for East Bridgewater Police Officer. That's details here in the city.
Oh. It says highway department, that's why I guessed.
Yeah, they said how it's.
Okay.
I guess that's what. Because they're supposed to be us paying them.
Right. Yeah.
They use us.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So that was for the details for the police officers that did details here in the city.
Right.
They're gonna use Brockton.
And here are the streets also.
Oh.
So
Well, that's helpful that they put the streets.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Never mind.
So wait. Are we bringing them in to do details on
Yeah, it's like-
construction projects here in the city?
Yeah.
Because we don't have enough officers. I
No,
guess.
enough bodies.
Yeah, it's like same thing with the sheriffs. You know, we usually.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah, I've seen the sheriff's.
the
run.
sheriffs, you know, and whole board from the town. So,
And our guys have done details down there.
Yep, okay.
thank you.
You're very welcome.
That's it? Yeah.
School high.
All right. I have a couple of more, if that's all right. You'll indulge me a little.
We'll allow it.
Oh,
On page 84, while we were there, two jumped out at me that I was curious about. There's a $1,500 payment to an Elizabeth Englander for other contract services, my least favorite category.
Page 84.
Yes.
There she is, right there at the top.
Ah, asbestos removal.
Oh. No, that's environmental response, although that was my next one.
Oh, did I pull the wrong PO?
That's all right, I was gonna have you pull this one.
Okay. All right,
So
let's dig into
environmental
this.
response, we removed asbestos.
Correct. And I can
Where?
show, would you like to see the invoice as well?
Yeah, I'm curious where we removed it.
West Middle School.
Oh, we had a leaking pipe,
Correct.
and then they found the asbestos insulation. Yeah, okay. Once you disturb it, you gotta remove it. Okay,
There.
Oh,
thank you.
Safe.
And then, so if we go back to Miss Englander, $1,500 payment.
two, three. Oh.
$350.
350.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Title Office 1. This is a school grant for a payment to Elizabeth Englander. Preparation and presentation of social and emotional development, social media, pandemic bullying and prevention at North Middle School.
Looks like maybe some kind of professional development
They,
put on.
it looks like it's more of an expert consultation,
Oh, okay.
and she more than likely developed,
A parent presentation.
right?
Okay,
Some
so
kind
that-
of presentation and
Okay.
a capacity that was needed at the North Middle School.
Back in March, okay. Okay, good. All right, thank you. And then I just was kind of jumping around vendors, and I was a little surprised to see payments to First Student, since we rolled out our own fleet of buses. Let me find one. Well, there was only one, now that I'm thinking about it. All right, hang on, where is it? All right, page 86. It's only $504, but year-to-date was $595,000, so I'm a little curious why a vendor that we replaced by bringing it in-house still got over $500,000 from us.
It's been a couple of years now, right?
Yeah.
At least two.
Certainly the prior FY. Wait, did we buy the full fleet for the beginning of FY '23 or '22?
Weren't you on the school committee?
I was on the school committee when we bought the first half of the fleet. I don't know that I'll have to check.
No, yeah, you were on the school committee when we bought the first half of the fleet, and then you were on the council when we bought the second half.
Okay, so that could explain it, but it's worth looking. Although, let's see, this payment is from April, so we're still, even if the bulk of that is from the spring, we were still as early as April of '23, still making payments for
Oh,
athletic
there it is.
transportation.
It's athletic transportation.
That was 2022, 2021.
What was it?
I see.
Oh, all right, so we must have had a game against Durfee, but
Right.
I guess I'd like some more information on first, we have our own bus fleet, so I'm curious as to why we're using an outside vendor. That was kind of the whole point in buying the buses, was to not use an outside vendor. So that's question one. Question two ties right into that, and what in the world did we spend almost $600,000 with the vendor that we bought our own fleet to not use for? So if you can ask the school department for a little detail on this, but just in general, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Hey, can I just jump in quick?
Yes, please.
It says July 10, 2021. Yeah, invoice.
Oh, so this is a July 21,
Yeah.
and we're just paying it now.
And somebody's written
3
neatly.
years later.
Yeah. So
Please
somebody's
close.
written neatly down below. Final, please close.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So,
I think that
Okay.
somebody's probably a little late on the school side.
Yeah. So it probably is old stuff from 2021. Let's just confirm that. That's,
Absolutely.
now that you point that out, it probably is old 2021, closing out the relationship, but
And, well, it does then raise the question, how the hell have we not paid the bill in 2 years?
yeah.
Because the school department has $250 million at its disposal. That's $500. Get that figured out.
right.
You got almost $600,000 from 21 to 23. What about the budget on F22?
Right.
that was probably included on everything.
Right.
Oh,
And what's this being paid out of? Yeah.
right, because we're paying it in 23, but it's an expense from 21,
Expense for
22.
or 20, FY 22, right?
Yes, correct.
So, yeah, I think we'd all like to know what happened here.
That's, we need more information on that.
Yeah, how do we go 2 years on a $500 bill?
Exactly.
But then in the current year was that other 500,000 or more than more than 500,000. So what was all that?
Year
It's
to
more than likely a contract
Years.
that can span over several fiscal years.
Okay,
But we'll definitely
yeah.
get a more definitive answer from the school CFO and the city CFO.
Okay.
You're supposed to pay it out of that year.
Right,
And
which
if we're not paying it out of that year, that is
a problem.
worth review.
Yes.
It's either human error or somebody's dancing with the dollars. I don't
Let's
like
hope it's human error,
that. Right,
because I like the dancing the least.
right.
Counselor, did you have?
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at the invoice because it doesn't give any, it says football.
Going to Durfee's Fall River.
Yeah, but at the transportation, that was. I don't see that.
If I may, for a second.
Yeah.
It's $556. We've crossed out 556 and written 504. I have sent and received invoices in my time in private employ, and you can't amend the price like that.
They opened the PO for the wrong amount.
Oh,
So we did what is known as a partial payment, and we more than likely closed the PO thereafter to free up the cash.
Okay. All right, that's fair. All right, good. So hopefully we'll get some good detail from the school department when you inquire about the rest of our inquiry on this. And then I had one more, and then I'm done. And that is so I was just looking at waste, our waste contractor. And I'm curious because sometimes there's like small payments, you know, $91. Then there'll be, let me find it. No, come on. There we go. Then there's some payments for contract services, like on page 135 for $3,800. Maybe we could pull that up. And there's others that are like, you know, $500,000, which I assume, although we'll go to one just for giggles, is that month's trash removal, but who knows? Would it be helpful if I read off the PO to you?
It would, so then
Okay.
I wouldn't have to look for it on the,
Yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm like, why haven't I just been reading them off? 323 30036 for $3,840.15.
okay, this is for the school department. Okay. Allied Waste Services. I'm sorry, you're looking at the amount for $3,082.44?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it looks like waste disposal. They're drawing down from what is more than likely a large contract.
Okay.
And it's for Republic, so Here's the breakdown. It has to do with the high school.
Okay, so the school department pays their own trash removal separate from the city side? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Schools pay separate. Okay, that's helpful. And then, oh, okay. So then that's probably, the next one in here is 30,000, and I'm guessing that's also school. Okay.
I can pull that up if you'd like.
Yeah, why not? Since we're there, it's 30,738.
Same PO?
Yes.
Do you happen to see the date close by on the report next to the PO number? Never mind. I'll pull it up.
It's that,
Where are you seeing 30,000? Oh, here we go. Yep, so they're liquidating a larger portion of the contract.
that's all.
This is for the Baker School, George.
When they say liquidating, what is that? What do you mean?
So if we've got a contract, departments have the ability to open one large purchase order encumbering all of the funds of the contract. And then as they get invoices, they can hit against that balance.
Right.
And that's where the term drawdown comes from. You're just pulling money off of that large balance for the contract.
Drawdown, liquidating, same thing?
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right, got it. Okay, so this is school trash removal. So then, all right, so I have another one, same vendor, but let me give you the PO. 431-30014. It's page, in case you want the page. What was it? 218. But it's 431-30014.
Okay, so this is through enterprise funds with the city's own DPW refuse division, our own recycling division. So exactly what we just saw with school, but with the city side.
Okay. So is this, oh, okay, yeah.
Yep. Which page was it?
218.
Oh, 218.
Yeah, there it is, the 548, 547.
Okay.
That's the bugger.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Trash is a dirty business.
This doesn't tell me much. This is all from April. Okay, let's try this. Okay.
So this
Looks like it's bulk pickup services throughout the city
okay. So
for the
this
month of
are
April.
Our April trash pickup services. Okay. And can you, just comparing the amount, so that was 489, then the recycling was another 93, yard waste for 9, okay. Just for comparison's sake, can you pull in that list, it looked like there were a couple other months' invoices, was May in there?
Yes.
It's done.
I don't see May.
No, it's alphabetical.
Oh,
November, March,
Maybe February. So you have February, March, and April. Maybe we haven't paid May yet?
well then, yeah, I mean, it's possible, but
that is possible.
do we typically pay that?
Or maybe it just hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
Why don't you look at February?
Yeah, we could look at March or February. Again, I just kind of wanted to
Side
see,
by
like, is
side.
that the typical month or was that abnormal?
Yeah. Fair question.
Let's go back and try this again. February. I apologize.
It's all right.
Some odd reason this isn't opening. Can I try March?
Yeah, March is fine.
Okay, great. Okay. Here's March.
Okay, 489, recycling, 93. Looks like there was some other recycling. I wonder if that's down at the drop-off. Yard waste, 96. I mean, those amounts track almost to the penny, if not to the penny with the other month we saw.
Going through. Why it says please pay $80,000 from the PO? Instead PO, the $80,000 flat.
They may have opened two separate POs in a way to organize their budget. One might be open specifically for other recycling,
Yeah.
something,
Like the big stuff, TVs, mattresses,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
yes.
Okay.
But
I mean,
the city doesn't pay for the TV mattress. I thought that,
you can pay the city and then we'll pay them. Certainly not 80 grand. I think it's definitely worth
no,
looking
it's,
at.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
something to definitely look into.
Yeah, if we're looking
Yeah.
at one, look at both.
Right.
We're here.
So, yeah, maybe, Counselor, sounds like you're looking to find out why was that paid from the other.
Correct.
Yeah, we can get an answer on that,
Okay.
which you can email us, yeah.
Yes.
Is it frozen?
If you look at it, the
No.
first line, it says service.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, the correct they give us.
Right.
77.
I think that's a deduction.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So they give us.
And it was noticed, so May and June aren't in there, and again, I think that the first student one is probably an outlier, but, so typically, how long does it take us to pay an invoice?
Usually departments give it to us less than a month after So if we're in mid-July, they should have gotten the June invoices by now from their vendors,
Okay,
more than likely.
right. So it seems like we're, what, 30, 60 days behind from when service performed. It's usually 30 to 60.
Correct.
Okay, all right, I was just curious.
To carry on off
Please.
of that though, that might be the city taking a minute to pay, but that also might be the fact that we don't get the invoice immediately.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
That's right.
So,
And it could be the vendor that doesn't get it out, or it could be the department that doesn't get it in right
yeah, so
away.
it could
There's
be,
any number
it could
of.
be the vendor, yeah, the vendor waits to send out their June bills all at once or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Any number of reasons, reasonable explanations as to why it might, yeah, okay. Well, counselors, you have anything else? You're good, Counselor Lally? Counselor Texiera, you're good?
I'm good. I had a one on 135, but I'm good.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Well, we've given Irene a bit of homework.
That's quite all right. So we'll go.
Really appreciate you doing, because I know you're stepping in and, helping out and filling in, so we really appreciate that. And again, thank you for your willingness to, check into these matters for us.
Absolutely.
And then I think if it is the will of my colleagues as well, for the next accounts in August, we'll put that, ARPA grant review / update in on the agenda. Okay. All right. Anything else you want to see come on next month's agenda that you can think of right now? We can always talk later, but if
I think
we're good.
giving as much time to ARPA as we can is probably worthwhile. It was a decent chunk of change.
It certainly was.
And it was almost entirely handed out along the mayor's purview, so
True.
us checking in doesn't hurt.
But, Mr.
The
Chairman, do we have any?
Check and balance of government.
Yeah.
That's, with this ARPA money that we've been giving to the nonprofit, okay, do we have any feedback?
I think that's part of what we're trying to.
That's what we're looking for, is a little feedback as to,
I know that they have criteria, both the federal government, the county, and the city does have criteria for who can get the money and why. And I know there was some vetting process, and I believe there was supposed to be some sort of, like, the money comes in installments. That way we, make sure that you're using it first before you do something silly with it. But, aside from knowing how the system works, we haven't seen how the system is performing.
Right.
So,
and,
hence the spot check.
right, and it's in installments, to your point, to make sure that it's being used for what it's intended and not things it's not intended for.
New Miata.
But not that new Miata or the Lambo, right? So, but all we've got is invoices that say operating or general expenses, so I think a deeper dive is appropriate and well within the purview of this committee, so. All right, anything else? Anything else?
Not at this point in time.
All
I
right,
thank you for your time and for your consideration of this presentation.
well, I want to thank you for your efforts and again for stepping up and helping us out. I want to make sure to thank Thomas from BCA for being here this evening. It's a beautiful summer night out, and he is here making sure that this meeting is going to be televised and access given to our constituency, and so we appreciate BCA being here as well. And I think with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.